So question one, I chose to answer, discuss the difference between informing and persuading. What are you most likely to want or need to inform or persuade? Why should you know the difference? Use a text in your response. So informing and persuading, I think the difference is when you're informing, the text talks a lot about how you want to be very you don't want to be subjective, you want to be objective, you want to be like, don't really bring your emotions or your point of view into it, because then at that point, like, it's kind of turning into persuading, to where persuading you can bring your point of view, you can be more subjective because you're trying to convince the people of a certain idea, or um an idea. I can't think of the word, it's in the text, but you're picking a side basically, and you're trying to persuade people to be on that side. Why should you know the difference? Because you should know the difference because if you're asked to give one form, like an informative speech, and you end up giving a persuading speech, the people, like, that's not very good communication, and it's not going to look good on your part. The other question that I chose to answer is organizing a presentation still important in 2021? Why or why not? Discuss how you seen good presentations organized and how a lack of organization might impact your overall delivery. Be sure to cite reference text. So I think it's definitely still important. It's always going to be important because if you don't organize it, like if you kind of scatter around, people aren't really going to be able to follow it, and it's going to be not as successful of a presentation. So with that, going into my examples, I mentioned this in one of my RPs, but there was a kid at my graduation who gave a super good speech, and it was like very organized, very like he had practiced it, and you could tell, and it was just very smooth going. And then, but also at the same graduation, we had a teacher who gave a speech, and it was organized, and it was organized decently well, but like it was kind of just all over the place, and so it was super hard to keep track of, and it ended up, I know I lost my interest, and lost interest in it, and I got some stuff from it, but this other kid's was very beneficial and a lot more satisfying because it was just so smooth. And I even talked to some other students at the graduation, and they definitely agreed with me. Like, it was just something in the way he presented that made it better than the teachers. And then answering question 5, what is your overall approach to presenting, be it for class or work, and how much of the information in chapters 11 and 12 have you used, even if you haven't used the terminology of the text? What would the authors say about your current presentation philosophy? So, I haven't presented anything in a very long time, but I definitely think I'm very organized when I present, and I practice a lot. Last year during Running Start, I had to take a public speaking class, and that's probably the last time I presented in front of a class. And so talking to them, talking in front of the class, I definitely practiced my speeches a lot, and I'd type them up and then read through them multiple times and then read them out loud and all this different stuff to make sure I was ready, and I'd have other people read them to make sure they were smooth, right? And so I got a really good grade in the class because I did well, and I was prepared, and everything was good. And then there was also, on the contrary, there were students in the class who I'd talked to, who I knew of, and they didn't do the same thing, and they didn't get very good grades because of it. So I think that even though I may not have used the same terminology as the chapters, I definitely have used some of that stuff in my life up to this point, and plan on using it as I continue to have to present, which hopefully isn't too much, but probably will be. Thanks.